Heroes of Fantasy Football Podcast.
And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Heroes of Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host tonight, Mr. Christopher Felice, and we have Matt High over here. What was that, Matt? Are you everything okay?
I'm just excited to be here, man. Just very excited.
I'm so happy for you. Why are you excited?
We're in playoffs.
Sure for the class.
We are in playoffs.
We are in playoffs.
It is time. All the hard work we put in throughout the season, we're down to 2 weeks. So, I'm just ready.
3 if you're a sociopath.
Yes, don't do that. Friends don't let friends play in week 18. Okay? Don't do it. If you do it, just next year, that's the very first thing you change immediately. Don't do it.
Or leave the league.
Yeah, and then start one that has, good rules, like Week 17 championship. That's good.
Perfect. Awesome. Yeah, no, it's exciting. It's great. It's also sad. The season's almost over. You're gonna have to wait. All those thoughts go through your head. But hey, don't worry, guys. We'll be here with you every step of the way. When you're going through fantasy football withdrawals, we got your back. Okay, we'll be talking about something. I'm sure. You want to talk about some obscure rookie who's gonna go in the 3rd round? Don't worry, we got you. We'll be talking about him. I don't know who that is yet because I don't have any picks next year, so who cares? But we'll talk about him, I'm sure. Don't worry.
I don't have picks for the next 3 years, so
yeah,
I'm really into it. So for those of you that do, yeah, well, that's the goal here. I have 2 more. I have 1 more week to really push hard. I have a couple things going on my team, so I'm playing Joe this week in the semifinals. So we both have 1 win on each other on the season. So his team is looking pretty good. I'm hoping mine can sneak it out a little bit, and then we'll see how it goes in the final. But there are 3 of us in our Dynasty finals, so I'm playing Joe, and then Rich is also on the other side of the bracket. So most likely, we're going to be playing Rich, whoever wins. So there's a lot of things.
Maybe at least one guy repping. There's going to be one guy repping, at least. Yes. Could be a podcast finale. But hey, with that podcast finale, I'm sure those of you as well in your semifinal matches here, Week 16 matches, as well as some of these guys over here in our own playoffs, probably wondering who to start and who to sit this week. So without further ado, I think we should get onto the main course, our starts for Week 16. All right, Matt, as you said on the waiver wire show, you got a bet 1,000, I believe was your exact words. So please go ahead and kick us off. How are you getting up to the plate this week with your starts?
All right, I did say we're batting 1,000, so we got a guarantee here. We are coming hard. The very first player I'm going to be talking about is going to be Sam Darnold versus the Seattle Seahawks. Right now, the Vikings are 12-2 and up against a motivated Seattle team. We're heading close to playoffs. There's lots of implications as far as seeding goes. The Vikings are just going to need Darnold to keep the pressure on the Seahawks and really get into the playoffs and kind of just keep momentum up. This team has been really, really good. I've been really wrong about Sam Darnold. I called Justin Jefferson a bust at the beginning of the season because, for all of us who have watched Sam Darnold play football, has not been very good. But it just goes to show you, Kevin O'Connell, his offenses are really good. He's similar to Kyle Shanahan, where you just know in that system, certain positions are going to flourish. And Sam Darnold has been amazing throughout the season. He also has, top 2, probably top 1, the number 1 wide receiver in football. That doesn't seem to hurt him at all. Also explosive players like Jordan Addison. He's got a lot of good pieces around him too. They were in a rebuild this year, and they're 12-2, which is crazy to me. They lost their quarterback, got him. Here you go. But they're heading into Seattle, where they will be going up against them as well as the infamous 12th man. But I really do think this team is firing on all cylinders right now, and they're just going to take care of business. And they're going to lean on that pass attack. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, Sam Darnold should have a really high output, which is great for the fantasy semifinals.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, he's kind of beaten every single expectation. Right, kind of goes without saying. So I do have a question here before I move on to my guy here. Where does Sam Donald end up next year? Let's actually do two things. I want where you think he's going to end up, and I want where you want him to end up.
I mean, I looking at it right now, who knows what condition how healthy is JJ McCarthy going to be next year? Like it, let's say they make it deep into the playoff. They get a good playoff run. I don't see how they don't bring Sam Darnold back. At least for 1 year. They could franchise him. I mean that's in the realm of outcomes. So I think he goes back to Minnesota, and I kind of want him in Minnesota. We've seen him on the Jets, not good. We've seen him on the Panthers, really not good. And he goes here. We've seen him on the 49ers. He was okay. And then now he's flourishing here. He could have like a Baker Mayfield late career resurgence. This could be the next Baker Mayfield. I mean, look at him this year. He's amazing. So I think both of my answers are going to be right back to Minnesota.
Okay, I think it's very fair, especially considering, as you said, all the circumstances. If they thought they're going to be rebuilding, he steps in. A lot of credit to that coaching staff. Kevin O'Connell clearly likes taking in old New York quarterbacks and kind of going from there. Who knows? Maybe Daniel Jones has a resurgence if something happens to Sam Darnold. God knows. Yeah, no, I also don't think so. But it's funny to think about.
If you're watching, if you're listening just to the podcast, I'm shaking my head violently in a no way in heck. So, yeah. But
Anywho.
That's why you should watch on YouTube.
True, yeah. Come on. You can get our perfect reactions. You can see me move my arms around like a mad Italian man because that's exactly who I am. Sorry about that. But no. Going back to the quarterback starts, I got my guy here. I got Jordan Love going up against the New Orleans Saints. Now, Jordan Love, currently ranked 16 in the season, however, has had, dealt with injury, did miss 2 games. There have been times, I'm looking at his stats right here, actually, to get back like one time where he really did kind of meet expectations. So, truthfully, those 2 games kind of really mattered in the contention. I feel like the quarterbacks, I just want to say before I keep going, quarterbacks are really good this year. I feel like there's not, like, you have your Josh Allens, right? You have your Lamar Jacksons. But then I feel like and Joe Burrows. Those 3, everything else, though, I feel like usually the gap is a lot wider between the top guys and the next guys forward. I feel like that's not the case this year. I feel like there's a lot, the quarterbacks have gotten a lot better. There's a lot closer scorelines between them. And it makes fantasy football a lot more exciting because it means other positions matter more. A lot more now. And it makes quarterback as well. It's like, okay, now like it increases that like second tier by a lot. It's like now it actually matters a little bit. I'm not saying you should draft a quarterback early, never. But, if you did, maybe you didn't get as punished. Going back to Jordan Love, though, enough of my tirade. He's going against New Orleans. There's nothing really to hide here. That team is broken on all cylinders right now. And that defense was never that great to begin with, unfortunately. I think Matt had said it before the show here that the only worry is that maybe the defense kind of goes off first, which is a possibility. But I anticipate at least, a couple touchdowns from Jordan Love, a serviceable week. You're looking at like at minimum 19-something points. If you've trusted this guy kind of moving forward, looking at the schedule here, I mean, you played him against Chicago, which is like one of the best defenses in the league, 23.85 points. San Francisco, 16.35 points. Miami, 21.7. Detroit, another, even with all the injuries, still a very, very good defense at that time before they kept getting injured. 16.6. I mean, they keep doing it again and again and again. Jordan Love just keeps posting those good numbers. So I don't see why you don't trust him going into New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we were talking before the show about some of our guys, and that was really my only concern is this defense. I mean, the Saints are depleted, like on every side of the ball, every position. They've lost like 5 players, like fantasy players that we need. So that, and if this game gets out of hand, it's in Lambeau, I believe. So that's going to be tough for the Saints to do anything there. But
It is. It is. Yeah, it is in. It is in Lambeau. Yep.
yeah, so Jordan Love is very talented though. So I think what you need is a really good first half from Jordan Love. Run up the score, because then they're either going to bench their starters or they're just going to run the ball down their throat, which they'll be able to do very easily because the Saints are hurting on defense as well. So moving over to running backs. This comes off of the news for the Nick Chubb injury. He was placed on IR. He has a broken foot. So a lot of people are looking at, what do you do with Jerome Ford? Is he playable this week? And I say yes. I'm making him my start of the week this week, going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. We also have the news that Dorian Thompson-Robinson is going to be the new starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. Now, that basically destroys the passing game, like completely. Like he's not going to be able to move the ball through the air. But what he does is he opens up an avenue for the running backs to do pretty well, because he's a dual threat quarterback. He can run, not super effective with it, but he can run, which is, I think, going to keep the defense kind of looking. And let's look at the Cincinnati Bengals defense. They haven't been the best. I mean, last week they beat up on Will Levis, who got benched after, a bunch of picks and just doing Will Levis things. But Jerome Ford now has the backfield seemingly to himself. There's really no one. I mean, Pierre Strong, he's just a guy. He's talking
just a guy. Poor guy.
He's going to have as much work as he can handle. I could see him getting 20 plus opportunities this week, and he's also somewhat of an explosive runner. I mean, from what's left of this backfield, he is definitely the best one by far. He's explosive compared to those guys. He gets heavily utilized in the passing game. I think he was averaging in the times where Dorian Thompson-Robinson started and Jerome Ford was also the starter, which I believe was only like 3 games or so. It's a really, really small sample size. But in those times, he averaged about 6 targets a game. So you're talking about a decent floor. I view him more as a running back 2 this week, but he's got the upside. He's probably only going to get one chance near the goal line. But if he gets it, I mean, I think he can convert, and then plus the other work that he's going to get. We saw it last week against a really tough matchup against the Chiefs. He finished with about almost 10 half PPR fantasy points. So I think this is where the confidence needs to be built on this. Don't think too hard on this. Look at the volume that he's going to have. This has me a little scared, but I do think Jerome Ford is going to show up for fantasy managers. I think he's someone you can get off waivers. If you had David Montgomery, I think he's a great replacement for David Montgomery.
I like it. It's especially going up against Cincinnati, specifically, that horrific, horrible, the worst. Like I'm actually, you can correct me if I'm wrong. They're either the worst or the second worst. I think they were like 31st last time I checked. That was before the week had started, so they might be 32nd now. I don't know, but they're really bad. They're really, really bad. So I like it a lot. Moving on to my running back, I got Aaron Jones going up against the Seattle Seahawks. We love the Vikings today. I almost picked the third one, but we're not going to do that. So this is more on the side of not so much. Obviously, it's Aaron Jones. He's RB15 right now. He is good. You're probably thinking to yourself, you're going into maybe a tough matchup, right? You're trying to figure out who can you trust. Okay, I'm in that very situation as well. And my gut, right? I got I'll pull it up a little bit here on my phone. I actually literally in a situation in a playoff game this week. But essentially, my thought process is I trust Aaron Jones. Consistency matters a lot to me. And while he did have a bad stretch between weeks, I'm looking right now. Well, not even weeks. He had a bad game 11 and a bad game on week 13. But besides that, I mean, throughout the rest of the season, after the bye, it's been pretty crystal clear of a consistent amount of at least 10 points or more. And you know what? Coming into these weeks where, as we kind of highlighted earlier, Matt was saying it, if the score gets run up, you're going to start, stars are going to start getting sat. Your opponent's also going to get that too, probably, because they also made it to the finals. 9 times out of 10, they also got a guy who might get sat halfway through the game. Who knows? So having a guy who's going to consistently get the those points, 10 to 15, is great. I think he has a ceiling that could even eclipse that, especially against Seattle, which is not a great run defense. However, anywhere between 10 and 15, I'm okay with. I'm willing to start Aaron Jones definitely as an RB2. Very, very, very high end flex. If you have that ability, good job to you, I guess. You have a great time. But yeah, definitely an RB2 material here.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what he is right now. It just looks he's the RB18 on the season. So he's averaging about 13.7 fantasy points per game. I think in this matchup, you're talking, I think, a little bit higher. So I like that pick. I mean, kind of goes back to what I was talking about Sam Darnold. They're in a position where they want to win as many games as possible because they're trying to see if they could somehow get the bye week, which that would take the Lions kind of falling on their face a little bit. So we'll wait and see with that. But this is the kind of the play that good offense, good talented running back. I mean, it's always a good play. Moving over to our wide receivers. Now, this one, I'm going to just full disclaimer. This one hurts me because I'm going against him, and I watched what he has done. And it has me shaking in my boots because he's going to be really, really good. Brian Thomas Jr. going against the Las Vegas Raiders is my wide receiver start this week. He's been just an absolute stud wide receiver, especially over the past couple of weeks. Right now, he's currently the wide receiver 6 in fantasy. He's been averaging about 12 targets per game over the past 3 weeks. The Raiders are just in full tank mode. And so are the Jags kind of. They're kind of just going to the end of the season, trying not to screw it up too much. This is just a matchup where bad teams end up. We got to figure out which bad team is going to be just slightly less bad. So Mac Jones, not very good at the quarterback position, but what he is doing very well over the past couple of weeks is target your number one dude as many times as humanly possible in a game. That's just a recipe for success. So, like I said, I'm going against him this week and really nervous because this dude is going to completely change your fantasy matchup. He is going to just turn it upside down and just be a absolute force. This one, you probably kind of expected it, but I'm giving the touchdown guarantee for BTJ.
I'm going to say this right now. BTJ is 100% a league winner, by the way. It is, hands down. I actually picked him off of waivers in a couple leagues, which is really, really funny. So the fantastic. Honestly, I have nothing else to add. He's really, really good at football. I will, however, pose one question to you. We're gonna put we're gonna put Brian Thomas at 1. Here, I assume is what you're gonna do too. Rank the rookie wide receivers. The big ones.
Yeah. So for me, it would be Brian Thomas Jr. Then I kind of like Ladd McConkey over Marvin Harrison Jr., which shout out to our podcast mate Warren. That was his bold prediction. Looking pretty good. We'll have to wait and see the next couple of weeks just because he's now been dealing with injury. But it's kind of like a 2A, 2B right now for Ladd McConkey and Marvin Harrison Jr. And then I guess Rome Odunze. That's kind of it. Those are the top guys.
And
Oh,
Keon
sorry,
Coleman.
Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors. Duh.
Malik Neighbors and Keon Coleman. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I would be.
See, it's unfair to judge Malik Neighbors, I feel like, because we know he's probably a little better, but God knows he has not done any. Like, I actually saw a stat that he's almost at 1,000 yards receiving, and he's gotten through some of the worst quarterback deal. That he's like, honestly, is that even an excuse? I'm catching myself in my own words because Brian Thomas is catching passes from Mac Jones.
Yeah, for me, it's hard between Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors for me, and that might be somewhat of a bold take, but I mean, I really, really like Malik Neighbors. The explosive plays Brian Thomas Jr. has been making, I think. So put it 1A, 1B, and then 2A, 2B. So it'd be Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr., and then Lad McConkey, Marvin Harrison Jr., and then the rest of the guys. They haven't done much. So
Perfect. In that case, I am going to go ahead with my wide receiver of the week, which is Marvin Harrison Jr. Guys, yay! Now let me explain a little bit here, okay? Because I know this is going to sound a little crazy. I went very safe with my first two picks. Okay, Jordan Love, Aaron Jones, very, very safe. I mean, like to the point where it's like you're almost coin flipping for them to be in your roster. Like there's no usually 50-50, right? Now Marvin Harrison's tough, right? Obviously has not met the expectations that many of us have put on him. Currently ranked 28th in half PPR leagues. Yeah, it has been pretty. However, allow me to retort you with this. The Carolina Panthers. I did it. I just made my point. I've done it. Yeah, going against the Panthers, I predict that he'll have a serviceable week. I don't think there'll be a problem going into this matchup. He's had some boom games and some busts games. I see Marvin Harrison as, and this is so unfortunate because I know many people drafted him very highly. Unfortunately, a flex play at best here. All I'm hoping for is that you picked up somebody else off of waivers that can be in your wide receiver slot. But yeah, I like Marvin Harrison as a flex play. Maybe a wide receiver 2 if you need it. Definitely not your wide receiver 1. Definitely a flex going up against a really, really bad defense. I'm actually very confident in Marvin Harrison Jr. this week, so I'm going to put the touchdown guarantee on this game. I truthfully think he's going to actually do very well. I would, if I was in a league that I had Marvin Harrison, I would probably start with my flex. To be quite honest with you. I would just do that. I'm unfortunately not that league I was eliminated in, but if I was, he'd probably be my lineup.
I really hope you're dead wrong because I'm going.
I know because I know you're playing against both Marvin Harrison Jr. and
Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah,
and Malik
you're having a lot of fun.
Neighbors. Can't forget him. Yeah, Joe's team has a lot of really young, good wide receivers that can really destroy people. So I will probably be on the receiving end of that. So
I'll be fine.
Let's go, Colorblind Army. Colorblind Army needs to pull out a win here. Moving on to tight end here. This one is going to be a confidence boost, similar to when I talked about James Cook last week, where there was enough questions that it was like, all right, he's been bad. Do we need to have a conversation about him? Well, Travis Kelce going against Houston is going to be my tight end start of the week. I think right now he's the ECR ranked like tight end 7, which he's been pretty bad. I mean, I traded for him in our Dynasty League thinking I would have a really good advantage, and I've yet to really feel that. I
took his last first-round pick, and yes. I'm not sorry.
You shouldn't be. I would have done it. So he's just not been the same guy, and I think this is the week he's going to be relevant. This is kind of like a gut feeling with Travis Kelce because, he usually shows up close to playoffs. And I think this is going to be one of those times where he's been somewhat absent and you've been really frustrated. I've been extremely frustrated since I've traded for him. He's going to be part of the game plan. this week especially, Mahomes, so far the practice reports indicate that he's playing this week. He has an ankle sprain, which you either miss 0 games or you miss a couple games. He's a tough dude. He's not going to want to miss a game, especially when they want to maintain their bye heading into the playoffs. There's a slight chance that the Bills and all could catch up to them if they drop these games, which this week, because of that injury, he's not going to be able to wait as long in the pocket as he typically does for the play to develop. He's going to get the ball out quick. And tight end is one of the best positions to do that because they run straight, make a turn, hit him in the crossing route. So I expect him and Kelce to be on the same page this week, and it's going to be he's going to be peppered with targets. Noah Gray has been a thorn in my side the entire season, especially the past month or so. It's like, oh, Noah Gray touchdown, great, awesome, cool. Where's Kelce? He's just running around. So this is a week I think it's going to be a huge bounce back week for Travis Kelce and the Chiefs in general. They're not going to be able to. I mean, the Houston defense is pretty good. So their wide receivers, I don't think are going to be able to do anything because Derek Stingley is defending, and that dude is amazing. So Juju gone. There's talks of Juju's going to be doing nothing. Xavier Worthy got a lot of work last week. I don't expect that to be the same. That was just more of a one-off in my opinion. So I don't. Hollywood Brown may or may not play. I doubt it, but it's going to be the running backs and Travis Kelce. So probably shouldn't do this, but I'm doing it anyway. Touchdown guarantee for my boy Travis.
Whoa! Hold up. Touchdown guarantee on Travis Kelce. I can count on one hand how many touchdowns this guy has, and it is 2.
I can too. No pun intended.
Wow. Okay. All right. That's bold. See, we're on the waiver show. I was actually talking with Matt actually regarding this whole Travis Kelce versus Noah Gray. And I was on the Travis Kelce side of at least he's not the worst. Not saying that he's getting the targets. It just happens that Noah Gray gets those touchdown looks every now and then. But Travis Kelce has gotten more targets throughout most of these games in which he does well in. I will say that I definitely I empathize with you to an extent. I hope he does some good stuff for your sake. I do.
Travis, I need you real bad this week, buddy. Just help.
Who else do you have a tight end? What you have, Trey?
I have Cade Otton, who he was almost my start of the week this week, just because I think that's gonna be a high scoring game. I do think he's a solid start. He's just been kind of a disappearing act.
Do you have Trey McBride? Is that Joe?
No, he's in the other side of the bracket. Grimaldi has him. I tried to trade for Trey McBride. I tried to give him.
Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
That's right. You were very high on him. That's what it was.
Yeah, and look at what he has done this year.
He's a tight end 3, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, no, he is.
Yeah, without a touchdown. Receiving touchdown, I should say.
Kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy.
Imagine him with a normal amount of touchdowns this year. He would be
fucking sample partner numbers, honestly.
Amazing. He would be so much better than all the tight ends we've seen in the past.
Absolutely.
Trey McBride, thank you. I don't have you anywhere, but thank you. Proof of concept.
Moving on. I'll go with my tight end start of the week. It's Dalton Kincaid going up against the New England Patriots. Last week we saw his return to the field against Detroit. He had 7 targets, 4 catches, 53 yards. 7.3 points. That's not bad, considering he was gone for a decent bit, right? And you're going now up against a much worse defense in the Patriots. I know that Detroit's very banged up, but still, I mean, they somehow still manage to always seem threatening, almost, which is kind of crazy. I think they have the most IR usages amongst the league by a decent margin. They're 22 right now. I think the next highest is 15, which is crazy. Dude, that team is absolutely brutalized. But yeah, I don't have much to really kind of go over here. Josh Allen's really good at football.
Yeah, he needs to chill. Chill, buddy.
and the Patriots defense is simply not as good as football as Josh Allen. So yeah, I'm going with Dalton Kincaid. No touchdown guarantee, but he'll get you that like 7 points that you need from the tight end, kind of leave you at parity there, so that way your other guys can kind of do what they need to do.
Gotcha. All right, so why don't we dive into
Yeah,
sits?
let's do it.
All right, sits of the week.
Matt, who are you sitting? Who are you leaving off of your roster to waste away and watch them score 3 touchdowns this week? Who is it?
It's probably gonna happen too, but for me, it's gonna be C.J. Stroud. I just can't. I can't do it. He's a lot of this has to do with the Chiefs' defense. They're an elite defense, and they have been for a while. And there's so much uncertainty with this matchup. Between Mahomes' health, Mixon's health, and just the current form the passing game has been in. Now, looking at Stroud over the course of the season, he's finished lower than expectation 11 out of 14 games. So, whatever the projection you see on your app, he's hit lower than that 11 times. 3 times he helped you out. That's it. I'm terrified to play him. Originally, a couple episodes ago, we talked about who are we most afraid of in the playoffs. For me, it was Jared Goff, just because of how they could just flip the script and go, yeah, we're just going to throw 15 times and run the ball 40 times. With CJ Stroud, this is a team, they're not playing for anything right now. They're in the playoffs. They won the division. They just need to kind of coast to the end of the season. There's not too much different that they can do as far as seeding in the playoffs, unless a couple other things happen. But so why are you going to risk your player? Like Joe Mixon, I don't know if he's going to play this week. And if he does, I would be terrified because at any point he could be out for a couple weeks. We saw this in the beginning of the season. He had a hip drop tackle. He was out for 4 weeks. And this team suffers when Joe Mixon is not on the field. They need that steady running back to open up play action. And all the plays that we saw CJ Stroud make last year as a rookie that made us want to draft him very, very high, I just haven't seen him make those plays this year. He's made a couple. Him and Nico have combined on a bunch of deep balls, and, they've looked good together. But from the team standpoint, I mean, they took a big step back this year. They're really run heavy, which kind of helps with Joe Mixon being the dude that he is. And I can't do it in semifinals. I'm sitting him this week. If he goes off, great.
Sitting for who? Say his name.
I'm sitting him for Anthony Richardson because one, because my faith in Anthony Richardson will never ever die. 2, it'd be fun to beat Joe with Anthony Richardson.
That's exactly what I was thinking. There is
3,
going to be a story here. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. What's your third?
Yeah, and 3, because Anthony Richardson has a higher upside. And in my semifinals, where I'm an underdog, I want that upside.
What did you just say?
I'm an underdog. All right?
You're an underdog. This guy
According
is
to my
projected
app,
to score more than his opponent. He went on Fantasy Pros, and he's a 54% favored to win. And
That's
he's
on
coming
Fantasy
something-
Pros.
He likes to put this like mindset in that he's like some sort of underdog, and he's like taking all the shots, and he's like Rocky, and he's like, I will win, no, you're not an underdog. It's okay to not be an underdog, Matt. That's okay.
According to Sleeper, which is the platform we play on, I am an underdog. So that's what I'm going with. But either way, I'm looking at Anthony Richardson as far as I need the boom potential this week because CJ Stroud is not a floor play for me. He's gotten me 10 to 15 points on average a week. It's not been fun. I need more in my semifinals. Anthony Richardson could come out and just suck. But he also has the chance. He probably will, just because
You'll never hear the end of it.
No, that's why it's a double-edged sword. He either does really well, and then I get to give Joe a little heat in the off season, or he's gonna prove Joe somewhat quote unquote right, and I'll never hear the end of it for the rest of my life. But for me, I just need the boom potential, and I just don't see it with CJ Stroud. I know that was a long-winded talking point about CJ Stroud, but if you have him, I mean, chances are, if you do have him, you might not even be in the playoffs. I am in a super flex league where he's my second quarterback, and I had Jared Goff go kind of crazy at times this year. So, not been what we signed up for. So, who's your sit of the week?
Yeah. My sit of the week is Kendre Miller on the New Orleans Saints, and kind of by extension, and this is kind of going to strand out for the rest of the playoffs here. Any guy who's going to be like a last-minute substitution, as well as people you should avoid. Allow me to explain a little bit here. Now, for Kendre Miller specifically, it's very hard to gauge and sort of trust this given the injury history that he has, right? He's also, I'm going to be honest with you, even when he's not injured and he's actually playing against the ball, it's not all like he does show flashes, but only flashes. Like sometimes, as a player kind of gets more reps, I feel like they should like show more flashes as they get more accustomed to things. That's not happening here. I'm a little worried if he's actually going to be good or not, so I would fade that. Wouldn't bother. I know it sounds tantalizing. I know it's like, oh, I could get like 15 some. No, you're not going to. I'm sorry. I doubt it. There are very few players going back to the conversation of like kind of on a whole here of like these random guys who maybe someone gets sick or hurt these last couple weeks. There are very few guys I'd be willing to start, unless if you absolutely need somebody. If someone were to get sick, right? Like we were talking about before the show, like Ty J and Jerome Ford, I think, are up there as like the real candidates because they both, one's proven himself. Jerome Ford kind of had the wheels for a good portion of the beginning of the season there while Nick Chubb was out, and they kind of showed promise. So beyond that, it's very tough for me to say like, oh, hey, yeah, start this guy because this guy's sitting. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately. It's really hard to say that because you don't know how they're going to look. And the team knows that as well. That's why they're doing it, to figure out how they're going to look for the future, right? So if you need to, it is what it is. You're gonna live or die by that coin flip, right? But if you have the ability to, even if it's like a lesser guy that you're gonna start, right? Like he's not like the best running back ever, but you can start him anyway over someone like a Kendre Miller. I would do it because at least you're gonna get that stable like 10 points or whatever. Kendre Miller might give you like 4 or 5. And that's Alvin Kamara he's replacing. So 9 times out of 10, you're replacing a running back 1 with Kendre Miller 5 points. You're gonna hate that, but yeah, that's my set.
The one thing I will say is, every year there's always something right around playoffs that switches in teams, whether from whatever it is. So back in 2023, what if I told you that Zamir White was a top 8 fantasy running back from weeks 15 to 17?
I remember. I remember very well.
And the year before that, Jerick McKinnon was a top 3 fantasy running back. Cam Akers was a top 4 running back in the 2022 season. These are times where I could see it. I mean, Tajay Spears for me I think he's proven that he could do it. Should Tony Pollard miss any time, I think he's immediate. He was better than Derrick Henry last year in spurts. So I think that's great. Kendre Miller is still unproven. We've seen flashes, but that dude he has a problem staying healthy. And until we really see it,
say week 2, okay? You no risk taking, okay? Trust people.
But yeah, so I like the sit. I think it's smart. He's going to be really just volume with no upside.
Makes sense. Yeah, especially on that broken, tattered. There's a lot of words I could use for that offense and that team in general. But hey, we've done a lot of that today already.
All you need to do is say Derek Carr sucks, and everyone knows you're talking about it. So.
I know that makes you happy. Don't worry. But hey, that's it from us here on the podcast on this episode. Thank you all for watching. We truthfully hope that you have had an excellent week so far. We hope that you made it to the semifinals, and we wish you the best of luck going into this next week. So please drop a follow, a like, share, subscribe. Telegram, Messenger, Pigeon, whatever you're watching this on, however you're getting this. Please follow us, comment. We want to hear from you. We want to hear that if you think that our suggestions are helping you, if you have suggestions for us to help you more in the future, please let us know. We would love to read those. But yeah, without further ado, once again, good luck to everybody. Of course, unless you're facing me. In that case, please lose. It'd be a lot of fun. But hey, in all seriousness, have a good night, y'all, and we'll see you all very, very soon.
Congrats, Joe. So long.
Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of the Heroes of Fantasy Football podcast. Follow us on Twitter at TheHeroesFF.